Hello. So today I'm working on a defensive perimeter around my property. So as you can see, I have a fence to keep the dogs in, but I want to make it a little bit more defensive, if you know what I mean. So I bought a bunch of Blackberry vines, specifically Ark 45s. They're known for having very large berries, but also very large thorns. And if you're like me, you're like, what can I do with a plant that has really large thorns? So, in my backyard, in places where people are gonna be hanging out, I'm gonna have the thornless kind. But I figured for this perimeter, since they're on sale, I'm gonna put some Ark 45s along the edge of this fence with really heavy thorns, you know, effectively making it like a barbed wire fence, keeping, you know, dogs in, people out, things like that. Come join me in the chaos. All right, so these are Ark 45 babies. I think I got these on Starks, not sponsored. Prime Ark 45s. And again, these are the thorn variety, but they also have very, very large berries. So love that combination. And I'll be planting these around the perimeter. And you want to be careful propagating these because they are under plant patents. You'll want to respect those patents. But again, I mean, they're blackberries, so you know, if you're like me and you know what blackberries are going to do, they're going to end up propagating themselves like crazy anyway. So I'll probably put one of these, I would guess probably maybe every other post, in between every other post, since they're going to spread out so heavily. Something else I like to do with new ground is I'll put different things down. Some worm castings is what I like to use. And I actually had a company reach out to me asking me if I wanted to try their product. So, I mean, they sent me the product for free, not directly sponsored besides receiving free product, but I'll get kickbacks if you use my link for this. So if you're interested in some decent worm castings, check these guys out. Just organic. Again, I'll have a link in the description. It's always good though when you start up a hole to have some type of organic fertilizer, be it compost, worm castings, you know, whatever you have on hand, maybe a little bit of mulch. Since I have this on hand, of course, I'm going to use this. I think this is one of the best things to use. If all I had was manure, you know, cow manure is awesome as well. Anything just to get that soil microbial life going. You'll want to get like nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil and things like that, and they form a nice symbiotic relationship with the plant roots and make sure the plant is very healthy and that the soil stays well hydrated. Fungi are very good at setting up a fungal network. They set up their fungal interactions with the plant roots, and they exchange water and nutrients for sugars and things that the plants give off in exchange. So you'll want to create that relationship. You can inoculate the soil with mycorrhizal fungi as well. I'm a big fan of that. The cool thing about worm castings is worms are already inoculated with a lot of those fungi and bacteria, so they kind of just move that stuff all around for you. So definitely a good option. All right, I'm gonna go start getting these in the ground. All right, so about to put these in the ground. I like to tease apart the root ball, so I kind of shake them a little bit. A lot of people don't like to mess with the root ball, but I've had way too many bad experiences with like growing root-bound plants and then having the plants not really do anything because the roots can't escape from the root ball. So I like to kind of shake them and tease them apart a little bit before I put them in the ground. And I'm gonna dig a little hole right here and put a little fertilizer in there, a little bit of worm castings, and then move on to the next pole. All right, there we are, right in the ground. And these are one of the few things that I plant a little bit deeper. Most things I plant right at the surface. Blackberries and raspberries, things like that, I like to put a little bit lower because they'll actually root out through their stems as well. This kind of ensures that just in case there are root-bound problems or other issues, it could also just, you know, root additionally out through its stem. Blackberries and raspberries, they like to send out new shoots anyway, and I don't know how old these shoots are that are shown here. I mean, if that's 2-3 years old, it's not going to put any more new growth out of that anyway, so I'm going to want to make sure I get that deep. Not too deep. I like to go about an inch below the surface, just to make sure that if the plant wants to propagate out the sides of that stem, it can. And eventually I should have blackberries covering this fence, and I know it's not going to happen in 1 year, but 2 or 3 years from now, these sections should be completely covered. And then, you know, extra suckers that, you know, pop up along the sides, I can move in between. And I'll probably do one here, skip, one there, skip, one there, and that way I'll get good coverage. All right. Check out these worm castings. This is gorgeous soil. Processed by earthworms. So I know these blackberries, I forgot the name for a second. These blackberries are gonna love this stuff. Amazing plant food. And also add some organic material, nice for holding moisture and life, fungus, things like that. And a lot of people are like, wait, do you really want fungus? And the answer is yes. So a lot of people don't realize most of the nutrients that plants get from the soil aren't directly from the soil, they're from the microorganisms that live in the soil and their metabolic byproducts that actually create food just by living and dying, and the plants are able to assimilate those nutrients. So say a squirrel dies, the plant's not going to eat the squirrel. Bacteria, probably worms and larger insects are going to break down the squirrel, and then bacteria is going to break down the stuff that came from the stuff that broke down, and eventually those nutrients are going to be made available to the plant thanks to fungus and other soil-dwelling microbes. So. All right, so some worm castings, beautiful soil, just enriching the area where this blackberry vine is going to go. So it'll be nice and happy. I like to push down just a bit, make sure there's no air bubbles. One thing you don't want to do is trap water in large quantities under your plants, because that'll cause the roots to rot. You kind of want to push it down to make sure that there's mostly just soil in there, minimal air pockets. And again, you can be pretty liberal with this since it's not incredibly strong. As you saw, it was 1-0-0, so minimal nitrogen. You don't have to worry about burning the plant. Mostly just bulk organic material. And we can now cover it up. All right, so got it all in. I like to push down a little bit with native dirt, make sure it's nice and stationary. Some pretty fertile native dirt here. We can add some worm castings. I like to brush it off the leaves to make sure I don't leave any on the leaves blocking the sun. And that one's ready to go. Just need to do that 5 more times and I'll be all set on this fence. Hope you learned something. Thanks for joining me in the chaos.